On this episode
That's
of
all
Who
it is.
Dem.
We're not some, gender studies, pronoun obsessed professor. That's what people think woke is these days. But no,
You're an idiot. You're stupid. Why would you ever believe that? And so now we've pushed away these people because we do the moral grandstanding thing.
the moment people associate that with us, that's the moment not only when we start winning, that's when we start winning landslides. Because
Yes. I guess, would you qualify what Dream for America does as like a clips channel? Or how would you describe your page to someone that had never seen it before?
yeah, you could call it that. A curation of culture and politics.
There you go. Wow.
would be a great way to say it. But it's clips from elsewhere. It's news clips, our own stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's everything in between, and all of that is geared towards trying to market politics to people who don't care about it, never seen it, or are just not that deep into it. I'm on Twitter doom scrolling all the time, but not every person in America or young person does that.
Nor should they.
Nor should they. But yeah, Joe Rogan of the left, or we need a Damian of the right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the way to go. If we had a Damian of the right, I feel like what the Trump administration is trying to do would just have way much more of a cooler vibe behind it. I think we were doing a pilot for another project that we're working on, and we were getting B-roll from the White House official account. And long story short, you know how they have like 22-year-olds that are like running all of the social media pages now for the White House and stuff? They all shitpost, but they're also like, it's bad. Like with the footage that they collect, like they like film the floor for like 2 seconds and then they'll pan up and it's not even the center of their shot. But no, I was asking about other pages that have popped up. Do you think that there's been other left-wing pages that have shown up that do, what was the term that you used? A curation of culture and politics?
Something like that.
There you go.
Yeah. I think so, but you see it with politicians and organizations in general. People are hopping on the trend. Everyone's got their own podcast now, and everyone is doing their hand. Chuck Schumer's got his little mic where he does his videos now. Everyone is doing it.
What do you think about it?
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Right?
I'll just say that. It's weird.
I don't think anyone has had that conversation with them. I haven't seen too many people talk about it. The comment sections for like the posts are like, what are we doing here? But
I respect Chuck Schumer, but I don't think he's got the sauce for that. I don't think he has it.
Yeah. Well, I have a different perspective on Chuck Schumer, but we'll leave that there. No, the Hakeem Jeffries post was the one. Can we pull this up? Have you seen the one?
I have not seen this. I'd like to see this.
The Hakeem Jeffries post took me out. This was when they were doing the big beautiful bill.
Oh, was it him with the baseball bat?
The baseball bat. But then there was one that they posted like a day later of him up against a fence that he just photoshopped really, really poorly, and it's just
no chance.
No, they definitely kept it up. They kept the one of him with the baseball bat up.
Everything Chuck Schumer has is still up. So.
Yeah, so they won't take down anything that Hakeem Jeffries does. But I think it is like, did they?
They did.
That's so funny. Oh yes, it was the post
baseball bat,
and there was a post right after.
Where he's getting fucking cooked in the comments. But like right after this, there was another one of him like posted up next to a bench. But they like photoshopped it, dude. I gotta find it.
Yeah, try to find it.
Hakeem Jeffries bench Photoshop.
Yeah, I was listening to a conversation with Chris Hayes and Hassan Minhaj, and I think this is it. Look at this. Like why? What is the point?
I have a personal theory on this one. I think everyone was roasting him because he looked like an actual child in like getting picked up from Little League in his baseball photo. And I personally think they were trying to edit it to make his legs look longer. Because I can't think of what else they could have possibly been trying to do to this photo.
Yeah, because it does look like they're trying to make him look taller.
I don't know.
It's really weird.
Yeah. But Chris Hayes was talking about it, and I think that this is the problem. It's that they're not on social media. So they like greenlight posts and want to do things that aren't conducive to social media, and they don't create the content that they consume. I feel like that's something that's really good about the DFA page is that because I'm assuming you're on social media all the time, you know what people on social media are watching. You guys do a really good job of creating content that I would assume you're consuming.
Right, no, exactly. But with Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer, do you think that is the politicians themselves that's the problem, or is that their staff that's the problem?
I think it's the politician not listening to their staff. I think that's a case of, or maybe not listening, but not seeking input. Like, I think it's a case of like a staffer comes and tells them like, oh, hey, I think you should do social media. And they're like, oh, I can do social media. And they take a selfie and they upload it to Instagram. And they're like, I'm doing social media,
Like,
right?
how do you do, fellow Zoomers?
Yes. Yeah. And the millennial pauses beforehand. It just kind of, it seems like I couldn't exactly put my thumb on it, but there's something that's missing. There's a step in between the thought of I'm going to go on social media and uploading that seems to be missing, whether that's feedback from their team, whether that's their team not having someone that's young on it. I think that could also be a problem. But I just, as a whole, I think I think it's doing more harm to their public image right now.
Oh, for
than it is
sure.
doing good. Yeah, you agree with that? Oh, I saw someone the other day. They were singing with playing the guitar.
Oh yeah, Hank Johnson.
Hank Johnson. Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what to say. I have no words.
Have you ever had a conversation with them about like their social media strategy or what they're doing, or do you kind of just that's above your pay grade?
That's above my pay grade or below. I don't know. But look, I think you're right. Like, I think one reason why we have so much success is because we know the ball. We know, this is stuff that we would want to see. This is stuff that I know other people would like to see. I mean, for the last couple of months, I've been solely running the social accounts, and it's purely run out of my instincts. And what is it that other people my age want to see? What is it that I usually see myself, or some combination of both? But all of the content is not really geared towards trying to do like these massive informational posts that are, some 65-plus-year-old that they could get from cable news. But it's about trying to convey politics and culture and build a brand around what does it mean to be liberal or progressive. And in this way, we can reach people who might traditionally not be following Midas Touch or Aaron Parnas, but can be reaching people who might, maybe some frat guy or maybe some other person, right? a lot of our new volunteers actually are first-time kind of political volunteers. They have never been involved in politics before, or if they have, it's very limited and it's more humanitarian-based. We have a lot of frat guys and guys who play football joining us, a lot of girls who do other different kinds of things. So it's some evidence that the content strategy is working. I think what we do is more focused really on that building a brand piece, because sometimes people ask, oh, what is it that you do that makes you different? There's a lot of young organizations that focus on trying to, lobby for X bill or get this thing passed or oppose this candidate, and that's great, very important work. But the most important thing that I think we do is trying to shift the paradigm and reimagine what does it mean to be a liberal, trying to sell progressive ideas and values to young people, and inspire young people, why democracy is still worth defending, especially when there are so many people who have lost faith in that. And it's not like one of those status quo defending takes, but more so that we want to get young people who feel disillusioned with the Democratic Party, with progressivism, with progressive ideas, and say that we have a space here for you. We are cool. We are not evil, woke people or whatever. There is space for you, and we're all in this together. So why don't you come and join us? This is the place to be.
And so this is a different idea than reaching across the aisle. Would you say that it's particularly distinct from that, or would you say it kind of falls under like the reaching across the aisle umbrella?
It's sort of both. We're not compromising any of our values. It's selling our values in a different way.
There you go.
Right? If anything, I think actually the left is more patriotic, more faithful, and more X, Y, and Z than the right ever will be. Right? When we were reciting justice, liberty, and justice for all in schools, we actually mean it, and we actually want to fulfill that vision. And Jesus, he was talking about helping the poor. He was handing out free stuff to everybody out of kindness and because poor people were suffering. So, would Jesus deny some person health care because, I don't want to pay for their health care? Or would Jesus deny some immigrant who's seeking asylum and say, you know what, their papers are not valid, so actually we should throw them in a cage in El Salvador? Of course not. What it actually means to be a Christian, to love and to serve and to do good, and it means to help your neighbors and to not judge. That's what it means to be a Christian. So if anything, I think those are the kinds of things that we want to sell to people who are, young guys and gals who are conservative, and say that, you know what, we appreciate and value and respect those values that you have, love of country, love of family, love of God. But actually, if you want to believe in those values, the left is the place that you want to be.
And why do you think that the Democratic Party got away from that. There was a recent poll that came out. It looked at 21 battleground states, and it kind of was looking at young people's perceptions of the Democratic Party. And I think the quotes were that the Democratic Party was out of touch, woke, and weak, or like uncool, or something like that. What do you think caused the party to get this brand around it?
Well, it's partially our fault, and then also partially not our fault. The partially not our fault is the like billions of dollars the right has spent on all the media and investment and propaganda they've done over the last couple of years and trying to brand us in this way. So I think partially it's not our fault. But the part that is our fault is that we have no pushback. A lot of our people are, go along to get along. We have no real opposition. And even when we do have opposition, what is the alternative that we're offering, right? We can't solely be a means to oppose everything that they do, right? We're reactionary instead of being proactive. And so, people are trying to run away from the woke label. I actually don't have any problem with being perceived woke, but we have to redefine what does it mean to be woke, right? You just care. You have empathy. You care about other people, and you care about making life better for people. That's all it is. We're not some, gender studies, pronoun-obsessed professor. That's what people think woke is these days, but no. And so, the other part of it, too, is that we used to be cool and hip. The Democratic Party used to be part of the counterculture, right? During the Iraq War, when people were doing the flag burnings and we were a big proponent of free speech, we were very big on worker rights and working class stuff. And on the other side, you had these kind of stuck-up, tightwad, super, preachy and finger-wagging religious folks who wanted to control every aspect of your life. And now, perception has flipped, right? Now you have people on the left who people think are kind of the preachy, unwelcoming, cross your arms, control your life kind of way. But, that's not reality, but that's the perception that we have to change. And I think part of that is...
Do you think that some of it is the reality of it, though? Do you think that there are some figures on the Democratic side that play into it a little bit too much? I think of particularly like labels that have been applied to someone like defund the police, and like owning something like that, even though it wasn't a label that originated, or a concept that originated in the left. It's a conservative talking point, and then people take it and run with it. Do you think that there is some fault within the individuals inside of the Democratic Party and the institution that they focus way too much on a lot of the cultural issues and aren't really emphasizing, that fact that 60% of Americans can't afford, a $500 unexpected expense?
More than that, I think.
Yeah, it was 50% before. Now it's gone up to 60, and I think that even, I wouldn't be surprised if at this point it's at 70%. The fact that if you have more money, you're expected to live longer. Yes. That if you have more money, you pay less in taxes. Do you think that there is some culpability within the Democratic Party's institutions themselves, or do you think it is more so just all like, hey, this isn't true, we've just been mislabeled?
There's truth in both. I think partially is misleading, but I think there's also some truth in the fact that you might have some people in leadership or in the rank and file who might act that way, or maybe politicians who may not fully represent the Democratic brand. I think that perhaps might be true.
Dinos, Democrats in name only.
Well, them, and then also some people, part of the, who are part of DSA or whatever, right? Yeah. I think there's both. The people who are dinos, will have the party seem old and frail and out of touch, and then the people on the, way far to the left are people who seem kind of crazy and fringe, right? So I think there's both.
Could you think of an example of both on each end?
Yes, I'm sure I could. Let's see. Well, no hate to Cori Bush. Yeah. I respect her, but I think using the term birthing bodies or whatever, I think is not helpful. And on the flip coin of that, I think you could probably say, to some extent, I think somebody like Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo would be somebody who's not helpful to the image we're trying to portray.
And it's I'm noticing that it's cultural for you. It's not because something that I have, figured out with a lot of these Democratic, at least the policy part of it, is a lot of Democrats agree on a lot of policy. Even the more moderate and the more progressive ones, they'll agree on policy, but it's the way that the policy is presented and
Yeah.
kind of like the aesthetics of it, if you will, more so than like the actual substantive
Right.
issues.
And I think that's true for because I mean, in what world are conservative policies a good idea? They're not. I mean, I think for the most part, democratic policies, progressive ideas, they're sound, they're right, they're the right thing to do, and they're popular. The only thing is how we talk about them, who's doing the messaging, and how we present them. Whereas on the right, why they are so good at getting away with evil shit is that they are great at marketing and great at message discipline. They have something to get done. They're going to hammer away at it with all the culture war bullshit. They'll have their slogans, they'll have their talking points, and they're going to hammer it home until they get it done. Big Beautiful Bill, for example, it's passed, it's done, but nobody thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah, not
Right.
even them.
Not even them, right? And so I think for a big part of it is messaging. But I mean, if there's any policy issues, I think it's more so focusing less on identitarian issues and focus or cultural concerns, but focusing on a broad economic vision that everyone can get behind. I think there's a lot of criticism and different concerns about Zoran in New York, but I think for one part he had a great campaign that was both done well digitally and on the ground, but also whatever criticism you have of his platform, he hammered home the word affordability and what he's going to do to make life cheaper for people. I think that was a winning message that everyone can get behind. Right, on a national level, right, you might not have, rent control or city-owned grocery stores on a national platform, but
Yeah.
you could be selling universal healthcare. You could be selling free lunch. You could be selling economic prosperity for everybody. And it's not that we hate rich people. We want you to be rich. We want everybody to be rich,
Yeah.
lifting all the boats, right? It's not that we don't want rich people to be rich. We don't have a problem with people making money. We have a problem with everyone else getting so much poor.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson said it the other day, I think, on
Right.
Turning Point USA stage.
Right,
It
I think
was-
so too.
Yeah.
And he's not, I hate to say it, right? It's that heartbreaking, the worst person, just made a great point. But he's not wrong on that specific one. Everything else he's pretty wrong on. But on
Yeah.
that specific point, he's not wrong. And you see so many young people, I think, too, which is why the whole, defend our institutions, defend our whatever. I'm a big believer in that message, but why it doesn't work for young people is because, what institution, what system works for us? It might have worked for 45-plus-year-old people, and, we should go back to that. And, I think there's something worth preserving about the old way of doing politics when things were a lot less violent and extreme. But the system as a whole, economically or the country, how does it work for us now? Which is why you see so many young people drifting towards extremism or radicalism, right? Which is not a green light for socialism or fascism, but it's more so that people are so fed up with what is happening, and there is no other option on the table because we're not offering one, that they have no other choice but to turn towards, a Trump or a Zoran or what figure you might have in mind.
Do you think part of that is this approach of so? I was thinking about this a lot over the past week. And I spend a lot of time thinking about branding and labels and associations that people have. Ultimately, the reason that you're doing what you do and the reason that the Ox Institute is doing what the Ox Institute does is because we understand the power of
Right.
the images created of people, of movements. And conservatives, in the name, they are trying to, presumably, they would be trying to preserve the institutions that are there. It seems like now they're more interested in drawing them back and getting rid of them. They're more regressive than anything
Right.
else. But do you think that going back to this opposition party, do you think that a problem has been that we have always been seeking to preserve the institutions and not progress them? Do you think that it's time to update a lot of our institutions? Because moving forward, obviously, with what Trump has done, we are going to be presented with two options. We can either go back to how things were, or we can, now take the Department of Education, which has been hauled out, and make it into an even more powerful institution than what it was before. And powerful not meaning controlling, but powerful meaning equipped with the tools
Of course.
necessary to be able to do what it's meant to do, which is prepare the next generation of leaders.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's the right approach. I don't think, going back to the way things were before, okay, that's fine, but that's the reason why we're here. It's people were not happy with that system, so they chose this one. And whatever critiques we have of Trump, that's what he was selling. He was selling change, and he was selling, I'm different than this. So I think, going forward when we get the opportunity to do so, I think it involved a total overhaul of our institutions and reforming them, their powers, what their responsibilities are. And I think on your point about, what does it mean to be powerful? So often we've been branded as, these big government loonies who want to control every aspect of your life and steal your money and do whatever. That's not what we stand for at all. I mean, yes, government has a greater responsibility in taking care of all our people, yes. But it is to your point, right? What is it that Democrats and progressives want to do? We want to make government work. We want to make it more efficient. So actually, for all intents and purposes, we want to make government efficient. So I'm looking at you, Doge.
Yeah, right.
But I think that is the path forward. We have to make some sort of change. We have to reform our institutions. That's not to say we should take a sledgehammer to them, but I think make them better, make them more durable, make them more efficient, and make them work better for the people that we're here to represent.
Yeah, something we talked about before as well, and I'd love to hear your take on this, is Obama ran in 2008 on a very simple slogan, and it was, yes, we can.
And hope.
And
change.
Hope and change. And I really do think that the Democratic Party has gotten away from hope and change and yes, we can, and has taken more of the strategy of like, maybe we can do it. Like if we reach across the aisle and get enough votes. I've seen a lot of people pull this bullshit excuse out with something. I was listening to a podcast the other day and someone was talking about Medicare for all. And they were like, you know what? That's the problem with a lot of these progressives. They think that, we just don't have the numbers in Congress to pass Medicare for all. And I think an argument like that, while I understand the pragmatism behind it, this is how the institution operates and we have to have enough votes to be able to pass this within this chamber, or if not, it's not going to happen. I understand that. But if that was a Republican initiative, you would never hear them say it.
They would have rammed it through.
Right? And I feel like it's so frustrating because a lot of people, I wouldn't say on the left, but on the left side of the political spectrum, they do this thing where they're just like, that's how the rules work, so we can't really, and I understand it.
Yeah.
And it's a frustration that I have trying to balance I respect the institutions because I think having respect for the institutions is the only way that you can really make change. But also, if the other team isn't playing by the rules of the institution, and people, I think it's 70% of people want universal health care. 70% of Democrats, want universal health care.
Yeah.
70% of Republicans wanted something. I feel like Republicans would find a way to get it done.
Even if only 20% of the country wanted something, they're still going to fucking do it, right? They don't give a shit. But no, I think you're right. Like, I have a really great immense of respect for the flag and for the country and for the institution, for the Senate, et cetera. But I think, we are clutching so tight to our pearls and so tightly to that little rule book. We shoot ourselves in the own foot. I mean, the Republicans are basically giving us the gun and we shoot ourselves because, the rules said we can't do it. So I guess we can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't give a flying fuck about anything. They don't care about the institution. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about anything. We care about it. And so actually the things that we're trying to do that maybe some parliamentarian rule says that we can't, well, we should do it because it's for the good of the country. It's for the good of the people. We should absolutely do it. Now, hot take, I actually don't support abolishing the filibuster because if we abolished it, 4 years ago, then the Republicans would have been able to jam through everything that they wanted right now. So I think which
they did anyways.
which they did anyways, right? So as much as Joe Manchin gets hate for it, I respect the position. But however, I think hiding behind the Senate parliamentarian does whatever. No, you force them to do it. You do whatever you need to do. Fine. I mean, have you seen House of Cards, Frank Underwood?
So, some of it. I haven't gotten into it as much as someone living in DC. You'd expect them to be all about House of Cards.
Have you seen Vice or Veep?
I haven't. We were talking about this actually earlier with the representative. I'm not a very cultured person when it comes to like movies and shows and stuff. I grew up in the YouTube generation. Talk to me about some YouTube videos. Yeah, PewDiePie. Talk to me about Tobuscus. So, I got you all these Minecraft
Dan
YouTubers. Dan TDM, there you go. That's more up my alley. That's what I grew up with.
Okay.
I was very much online from a very young age, so
Gotcha.
I don't get a lot of the shows.
But I guess the situation. Frank Underwood, he's one of the main characters in House of Cards. He has a bill he needs to ram through Senate. Find some obscure Senate rule, gets it through with only like 30 votes. Right. Now, granted, his intentions and motivations were kind of corrupt and evil, but we can flip that and do that for any number of our priorities, right? If the conservatives want to do that for any number of evil, insane shit, cutting Medicaid, cutting Medicare, cutting Social Security, going down the line and cutting student loans,
Cutting
whatever,
PBS,
cutting
cutting
PBS,
NPR.
waging war against Elmo,
Yeah.
right? Let's do our own thing. Let's wage war against poverty. Let's do our own thing. And as much as, I understand that, I'm also a very pragmatic person. As much as I understand there might be some genuine, reality and kind of logistical limitations to some things, let's still try it, right?
Precisely. I think that
Let's
that's
still
the
try
thing. And let's say that we're going to try it. And if we don't get it through,
At least we tried.
at least we tried. And beyond that, I try to get away from the moral victory because I think that we, at this particular moment in history,
don't have
it
time for
calls for
moral
more. It calls for more. And so, I want to get away from the, at least we tried it. But the shift, it goes back to the narrative, right? If you're not having a conversation every single day about Medicare for all, and guaranteeing health care to every single American so that no person with cancer goes bankrupt within the first 2 years of treatment, so that the 40,000 homeless veterans have houses, so that the 18 veterans that commit suicide, the one veteran that commits suicide every 18 seconds isn't doing that anymore.
Right, exactly.
It's heartbreaking to me that we don't talk about these things all the time, because only by talking about them and fighting for them, I think, does it ever actually actualize. How long did Republicans talk about getting rid of the ACA?
Forever. And the other thing, right? Like, it would be one thing that if the policy wasn't popular, but universal health care, and whatever the provisions, right, that can be debated and discussed, but people, by and large, they want health care for everybody. I mean, whether that's a private system or that is public option or whatever the approach is, everyone wants everybody to have health care. But even if it wasn't a popular policy, well, then it's your job to go sell it because it's the damn right thing to do.
Yeah.
And if it's not popular, well, then, okay, make the case for it.
Got the numbers right here. Majorities of both Democrats, it's 73% of Democrats and 61% of Republicans see the affordability of health care as a very big problem. Going into universal or Medicare for all, the support by age group is 18 through 44, 67% support for Medicare for all.
Right.
And it's 51% support for 45 plus, but you have to consider that people 65 and above already get Medicare for all. So their support for it isn't going to be as passionate as a 27-year-old.
And people opposed Social Security when it first got introduced. And now everyone is fighting to the death not to say, oh, I actually don't want to cut Social Security.
Yeah.
I love Social Security.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, one day, if we get some form of universal health care passed, maybe one day.
When we get some form of universal health care.
When. Okay, you're right. When. We got to be optimistic.
Yeah.
One day, maybe the Republicans will be forced to say, "Oh, I love socialized medicine. I don't want to cut it."
Yes.
So, I mean, it only
It's
works.
the same thing with the police. I make this argument. If you would have brought up, because the whole thing with conservatives is that they don't want big government. If you would have told them,
What about the U.S. military? What about the post office? What about the police? What about
What
the
about
roads? What about
exactly.
the what
But
about everything?
all of these things, like if we would have said, guys, what if we have like a group of people that are trained by the state to take care of us? If you would have present that idea right now to Republicans, they would be like, no.
Woke, commie, socialist, Marxist.
But in 2024, they're like, back the blue, baby. That's all we got. Give them more guns, give them tanks. Do they have nukes? They don't have nukes yet. Give them nukes.
Give them chemical
that we
weapons.
Can do, yeah. Anything that you need to be able to make sure that there's no rioting and looting going on, we'll give it to you. I just think that they would be against that if you were to flip the tables. If police didn't exist right now, and if Zoran were to come around and be like, "Hey, we're gonna give citizens weapons and train them on how to follow the law and enforce it and whatnot," conservatives would be losing their mind.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. And I think the moment that, because I think it goes back to what I said earlier, which is that it's not the policy itself; it's how we sell the policy. And I think the moment that when people associate liberal or progressive, oh, they're patriotic. Oh, they care about my wallet. Oh, they love, law and order, and they want to keep our community safe while also not throwing all the black people in jail. They want to give me health care or whatever. The moment we do all of those things and people associate us with common sense and the facts over feelings and logic and sane, rational policy and we're all patriotic, faithful people who want to do what's best for all of, Annie Butcher says, right, trans kids are God's children, right? The moment people associate that with us, that's the moment not only when we start winning, that's when we start winning landslides because I think we have the right policies. It's really just how we talk about them. And sure, there might be, a couple things here and there specifically that, people might disagree with, but by and large, like everyone can get behind universal health care. Everyone can get behind higher minimum wage. Everyone can get behind economic freedom, social mobility,
Yeah.
and making sure that every man, woman, and child can reach the American dream.
Yeah, at the core of a lot of the things that Donald Trump was proposing, it all goes down. I really have this perspective that 99% of people want the same thing.
Yes.
And that is to take care of themselves and take care of their families. That's it. Provide for themselves, provide for their family, have a good life, live with dignity. And Trump said, you know what? We got to get rid of the Department of Education.
And we got to get rid of the brown people.
And we have to, well, that's first and foremost right there. We
Yes.
got to build at least 13 more alligator Alcatrazes, got to send them all there, ship them off afterwards. It was just all of these promises were made under the veil of improving people's lives. And I think that just one thing, you know, Democrats have been trying to figure out what went wrong. I think that they just never jumped to it to that same extent. Where, you know, if Donald Trump was saying, I'm going to get rid of the Department of Education, a Democrat was coming along and saying, you know what, the Department of Education is flawed. You know, we fall into 44th among all our neighboring countries, but getting rid of it isn't the solution. It's empowering it. Right now, we're hiring ICE officers right this very moment.
Right.
$100,000, $40,000 signing bonus. Why is a teacher making $55,000 a year?
There you go.
And
Right.
my question is, why is no Democrat coming out and saying, we need to make a federal wage for educators? Again, I don't know if that's the actual solution or the policy, but even shooting the shit like that, which is
Right.
something that you see Republicans
saying,
do.
or talking about, right, you know, we're somehow weak on defense let's make sure that every veteran in this country has a house. Every veteran has a health care.
Yeah.
Right? These are easy wins for us that we're not taking.
No.
So you're right. You're absolutely right. And go ahead.
Well, I was just curious. Do you think that it's the money influence in politics that causes you know, the parties to kind of go this way? Do you think it's Citizens United? Do you just think that it's the fact that a lot of the people that, you know, the nature of, I guess this is still the money in politics thing, but the nature of elections today, you have to have a decent amount of money to be able to, you know, run in these. Either you have to have yourself a decent amount of money, or you have to be willing to capitulate to people that do have a decent amount of money, or make yourself attractive to them. Do you think that that's a flaw in our system? Do you think that needs to be changed?
Well, absolutely. I think the way that we have our system right now, I think, is somewhat flawed. But I mean, I think yes. I mean, Citizens United. I mean, ever since 2012, we have just gotten more polarized, and you have money stacking against money on either side, trying to win over each other, and billionaires picking their puppets, trying to win some influence. So I think that is one problem. I think Citizens United is a problem. You know, I'd have no problem overturning it. But I also think it is just a matter of genuine character and ability and courage on the parts of people who are spearheading all of this behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. Do you think that the courage is? I'll give you an example, right?
Yeah.
You're a young candidate running in the 2008 presidential election, and you have a lot of ambitious policies and ideas of change and hope for the future. And you end up falling short of a lot of these ideas for change and hope for whatever reason. You coming into the office, you know, weren't even worth $1 million. Leaving the office, you're having your birthday party at Martha's Vineyard. And when it goes back to this, you know, the poll that I was talking about earlier, it was these three: out of touch, woke, and weak. The three perceptions of the Democratic Party. And I'm trying to get to that out of touch.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a word for it. What is it? Champagne socialists or limousine liberals.
Yeah.
Right. You
Limousine
have
liberals. I haven't heard that before. That's
You never heard of that one?
No,
Oh, really?
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm adding that to the lexicon now.
No, I think all of this combined as an amalgamation of why people have these perceptions. You have a lot of really old politicians. Actually, I am personally not, you know, in favor of term limits. I think if you are well enough to serve and the people still want you, serve as long as you want. I mean, FDR, right? People wanted him. He should have a gajillion terms if he wanted. But I think, you know, on the part of having old people who are not well enough to serve, right, being there, then you have all of these, whether it's politicians or people who are liberal or, you know, celebrities or whatever, right, doing all of these kind of, very elitist kind of things, right? The Martha's Vineyard party, or all of these big donor things, or, partying off in Milan or at some, right, whatever.
Yeah.
I think all that plays into the perception. And the, I think also academia plays a role, right, into the elitist perception, right, with all the academic language and the holier than thou.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. The moral
I'm
grandstanding.
smarter
Yeah.
and better than you, and you're this hobo, redneck person. You don't understand anything. You're stupid.
Yeah.
Right. I think all of that plays into it, and I think just the rank and file broader party and base, I think, is a little too unwelcoming and a little too finger wagging at this moment, right? I see a lot of people, and understandably, right, a lot of people who have a lot of hatred towards conservatives and a lot of hatred towards conservative people, which my motto is, it's not that conservative people are the problem, it's conservative politicians, or what I call the conservative elites,
Yeah.
right? It's not that, John Smith from around the block who goes to church every Sunday and is, who has American flag in his front yard and just wants lower taxes. He's not the problem. The problem is the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, the Charlie Kirks of the world. Those are the people who are pushing them to believe all this stuff. Because I don't think you're born with hate. Hate is
agree.
taught. And I think the strategy that we should employ is not that, that you are a stupid person for supporting Trump or for being conservative. You don't have to admit that you were wrong, just admit that you were lied to. And as long as we can realize that we all have the same goals here, but there is a better way forward than this bullshit that we're going through right now,
Yeah.
then we will make room for you. Welcome aboard. We're all patriots here. We're all brothers and sisters here. We all want to make this country better, but there's only one idea and ideology and group of people that want to help make that happen. There's the other group, all they want to do is give more tax cuts to their friends, make life more miserable for anybody who's not worth $500,000 or more, and try to control every aspect of your life under the guise of Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're not even giving tax cuts to their friends anymore. They're just giving tax cuts to themselves. They're the ones in power. Because it used to be like, oh yeah, they're giving tax cuts to their billionaire friends, but now they're the billionaires that are sitting in office. Whether that's Kelly Loeffler, whether that's Donald Trump, whether that's Witkoff. I think it's 14. I'm sure I'll get fact checked on this at some point. It's 14 people that are currently serving in Trump's cabinet are billionaires.
And even if they're not billionaires, they're definitely up there in the higher echelons.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And I think there is this double standard with Democrats, which I think there's a saying, right? You have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. They are so comically corrupt and they get away with all of it. Whereas, a Democrat makes the smallest misstep. Oh, well, there's a whole grand jury investigation that our Republican Congress is going to push on them.
Yeah.
Right. It's a hypocrisy and double standard. And we should play hardball. I mean, what Gavin Newsom is doing, exactly the kind of energy we need.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I think something that makes it hard. I hate this uniparty idea because I agree with you.
Yes,
I agree with you. It's not that both parties. There's no uniparty. One party is worse than the other party.
There is definitively a worse group of people.
But that's also the thing, that there's definitively a worse group of people, but there's not definitively a better group.
That's true. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's correct. Or at least that's the perception, right? And
yeah.
Like I know a lot of people who are like fantastic people, but or politicians, right? But they come off as maybe not so that. And so I think you're right. Like there's definitely a worse group of people, but people are left in doubt. Like, is there a better group than the other?
Yeah.
So, and I think that goes to the whole conversation about we need not just opposition, but we need a real alternative. And that goes back to we need a vision. We have to be bold. I mean, every Democrat that's ever won national office has run on a bold vision, a universal, we're going to fight for everybody kind of vision, right? Whether it's FDR or Harry Truman or JFK or LBJ or Bill Clinton or Obama, you name it. They all had this big kind of vibe and idea behind them about trying to fix the country and make it better. And they were all there to clean up the messes of Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that going back to the terms thing, one term that I think has gotten a little bit overused to an extent, but also misused, and the connotation around it is not what I think it should be, is radical. And I think that While obviously not every radical is good, I think that this perception that every radical idea is bad is one that we need to break away from.
Civil rights was radical.
That I was about to say an example. In a letter from a Birmingham jail, Martin Luther King Jr., he actually talks about this.
Women's
and he
rights were
says,
radical.
they've been calling me radical.
Yeah.
They say that I'm a radical. You know who else they called radical? They called Jesus radical.
Yes, they did.
They called St. Augustine radical.
Yes, they did.
They're calling, they called Gandhi radical. They called MLK radical.
Right. No, you're right. And it's not that radical is inherently bad. I mean, of course, the Unabomber. That's bad
Yes.
radical. But
Yes.
radical is not inherently a bad idea. And I think every idea that is considered radical, look at it at its merits. If it's a genuinely good idea, but it's radical and it's out of the box, maybe let's try it.
Yeah.
Right. These days, I don't agree with Bernie Sanders and everything, but one thing that he did was make really radical ideas normal, and they were good ideas, right?
Because he didn't stop talking about them.
Exactly. And he made the case for them.
Yes.
Right? They weren't supported by people, but now they are.
Yeah.
And now they are. And so I think that's one of the other problems that we have to fix, which is that we just have to have the courage to say, okay, I don't care what the special interests have to say. I'm just going to do what is right for people, and this is the right thing, and this is why I believe it's right, and I genuinely believe this will help people, and make the case for that. Whereas on the Republican side, they make the great case for all the terrible things, whereas we have a much easier job of making a great case for the good
things that are empirically backed. Like if you look at studies behind them, like like something like raising the minimum wage, right? If you look at communities that have raised the minimum wage and you look at the empirical data behind it, it's like, oh, this actually does good for the community. Going back to what you said with Bernie, something that I liked about Zoran, one of the answers that he gave was he was being asked about on CNN by Aaron Burnett. She was asking him about his municipal grocery stores and how he wants to have one. First, like, she just immediately is like, so are these like Stalin communist grocery stores? And he was like, no, like we're just gonna have one grocery store in every single borough. And she's like, well, is the idea to expand them and have the 20, 50 grocery stores? And he's like, no, the idea is that this is a pilot program and we're going to try it. And if it's good and it works, then we'll open more. And if it's not, then we'll abandon the idea. Wow. Wait.
Great. Yeah.
Well, you just said that you wanted to try something new, and if it works, we're going to keep doing it. And if not, we'll just get rid of it. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
So it's just about having those bold ideas again. But going to the special interest thing, do you think that it's even possible right now for people to, set aside these special interests? Because I'm not saying that I'm empathetic to the case of politicians having to get money, but they do have to get money. They do have to get money to run.
They do.
And the place that they often have gone to get money are special interest groups. Do you think that it's possible to have people that are willing to have their courage speak higher than their probability of reelection?
I think so too. But I mean, special interest, too often people conflate it with a negative term. I don't think special interest is inherently bad because, there's good special interests and bad special interests. Bad special interests, the people who work in the oil industry or whatever, right? Good,
Yeah.
Because special interests on the flip side, right, you have reproductive rights people, environmental special
Yeah, but
interests.
the thing with that is that the money that comes from special interest groups that do the oil billionaires, that do the unhealthy foods, that do the food dyes, that do a high fructose corn syrup. I don't know why I'm thinking about food in all of these situations, but
Are you RFK pilled right
yeah,
now?
right. Yeah, they keep putting things in the food that is making it all bad.
The frogs are gay.
Yeah, there you go, Alex. All of these people, all of these special interest groups on the right are always going to be able to outspend the special interest groups on the left. And while I do agree with you that some special interest groups aren't bad, I think that there is a different way to maybe do politics. And I think that we can get away from this special interest perception. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about the money problem, where it's the special interest that you brought up, reproductive rights. You don't have a reproductive rights tycoon on the left that is giving abortions to every woman, and he's a multi-billionaire, and that's how he makes all his money. So he started, his APAC APAC and what? A stands for abortion, maybe. And he does his equivalent. Is it even possible then, in that case, to have good special interests?
I think there are good special interests, but I think you're right. Like, to some, well, I don't know about the right always outspending us, because now the left is incredibly flush with money. I mean, Joe Biden and Kamala
But
Harris.
from the same
and
groups. A lot of the money is coming from the same groups that are funding these interests on the right. Particularly, I mean, the example that I just brought up right now, AIPAC. But there's other examples as well of organizations that, they're putting money into the left. You're right, 100%. But they're also putting money into the right. So is it, that I think that's where that uniparty conception also comes through.
Right, but I don't think that's everybody. I mean, there's George Soros has never given a dime to Republicans, and he's he doesn't donate. Most of his causes are like genuinely good causes. I mean, whether it's for human rights or for whatever X special interest, but they're all like, basically puppies for all kind of ideas.
Yeah.
And whereas you have who's an evil billionaire I can think of right now,
The Koch brothers.
yes, Koch brothers or.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that should have come first to mind. These guys are fucking evil.
Yeah.
Right. But because I do think now this is going to catch a little bit flack, but I do believe that there is a concept of good billionaires. Right. I think that does exist. It's not a lot, right? But I think there is a capacity for someone to be very wealthy and to be very good-hearted and supporting the right. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt, he was rich as hell, and he did all. I mean, he was arguably one of the greatest presidents America's ever had, and most of the stuff that we have today is because of his social policy. So I don't think being rich inherently makes you a bad person. I mean, Mark Cuban. What's
Real? I do this all the time where I start with Mark Cuban and I start trying to think of other good billionaires, and I'm like,
Warren Buffett. Right?
Yeah,
And these
yeah.
are to some extent Bill Gates. Right.
Yes.
I think these are all great examples of good people who are supporting the right causes.
Yeah.
But I think there is a conversation to be had about money and politics and the influence of it. Because I mean, I would love to wish to live in a world where politicians don't have to rely on fundraising at all, and everyone just wins on the best of ideas. But I mean, from the very beginning, even in Roman democracies, money has been in politics. As just a nature of fact. I mean, people need money. I mean, doing politics is not a free job. And people need money to run campaigns and so on.
Yeah. I will push back here because I like to stay away from essentialist proclamations where it's saying, historically this has always been the case, therefore.
Yeah, I know, because you can also make the case, it's historically slavery is all the case, so we should just keep doing it.
So we should just,
But, I mean, look, I mean, I think money in elections will always be a factor, but I think there's ways that we should discuss to, what are the ways that we can limit corporate and big money.
What about a public campaign?
Right, like public-funded campaign. Like one of the reasons why Zohran Mamdani was able to succeed so well is that he didn't have to raise a lot of money. It was a publicly funded election in New York.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, he raised money, but they was matched like 8 times. So I think he had more money than Andrew Cuomo at the end.
No, you're only allowed to raise up to $8 million.
Yeah, but like in terms of like
capped.
campaign money. Like,
Yeah.
with super PACs.
Oh, yeah. In terms of campaign money, I think he did end up having more than.
Right,
But like
and
in
so-
total, it was like he was outspent like 2 to 1.
Right, and so I think there's
Good
what's his name? Andrew Yang had a great idea about I don't know what he called it, like democracy bucks or something, but it was like everyone gets like $5.
This guy always sounds like he's working for Epic Games and is trying to come out with a new battle pass to release for everyone. Democracy bucks. Yeah, either way, go ahead.
Andrew, if you're watching, I apologize.
I didn't even offend you, so.
But I think it's like everyone gets like $5 or something to donate to a candidate of their choice, right?
Gotcha.
And if that money is not spent, it goes back to the FEC. I think that's a great idea, right? It gives everyone a bigger ability to support the candidate they want, right? And you could debate about maybe even have ranked choice voting or other kinds of reforms that you could make to elections that would make it easier for candidates who might not be more well known or more well funded, but easier to break through.
Yeah.
And on top of that, then with the effect of democracy bucks, then you could have that candidate also have the resources to then take it to the finish line. So I think there's a lot of reforms you can make towards elections that would genuinely make our democratic process, ripple effect, and our country much more better with just that one change.
Yeah, because I'm with you on the I ebb and flow on the term limits. A lot of times I'm like, there should be term limits. But I think to your point, if there's someone that wants to be, the problem that I have though is that the way that the institution operates right now, having no term limits is bad. So and what I mean by this is if we wanted to say, no term limits, what we would really have to do is have a good primary system. and have
Yeah,
people be
a lot,
able
a lot
to
of stuff needs to happen before we can get to that.
exactly.
Point, right?
Either we can keep the system that we have now and we throw term limits on, or we reform the back end, the election process, and we say no term limits, but you're going to have an actual primary challenger, and your opponent's going to have as much funding as you are. And, try to really not necessarily get rid of this incumbent advantage, but try to make politics competitive again. We'll trademark that. We're going to make politics competitive again. We need to bring it back.
And gerrymandering.
Yeah. Yeah. And not competitive gerrymandering like we're seeing happen in Texas and California.
I don't support that.
Yeah. I support it if they're going to do it.
yeah. There you go. I mean, would they have an Iowa or the Nebraska or whatever, the independent commissions? I mean, that's great.
Yeah, it's like in Canada.
Right.
Where it's a third party.
Right. So no, I think you're right. Like, I think if we were to have no term limits, I think a lot of other steps would need to be fulfilled too. But I think that also applies to a lot of other areas. I mean,
100%, which is that's why I think a lot of the problems we have a lot of a difficult time talking about reform because me and you can talk about like, hey, we want to change this thing, and someone just hears that and they're like, that's impossible, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't let me talk about how if we want to get to there, we have to do all of these other steps along the way, and it stops, I think, a lot of our policies from being as perceived as pragmatic when in reality, I think a lot of them can be pragmatic.
Yes, of course, and going back to that conversation about what it means to be radical, I think now, this doesn't apply to everything, because but if a majority of Americans, overwhelming majority of Americans, support something, then how is it radical?
Yeah.
Are you calling the American people radical?
Yeah.
Right. And so now, if the majority of American people supported like bombings on children, that's right. I mean, but I think for example, universal health care, right? How is it radical? It's actually the centrist position to support universal health care. You're actually the radical if you hate children and you hate people having healthcare, or if you hate school lunches. For example, Charlie Kirk the other day was like, we should not give free lunches to children. They should earn it. They should earn it. I mean, the parents should just work harder.
So stupid.
So how is that not the radical position? How is it that you love Jesus and you love God and you love, hand clutching all of your values about family? How is it that you, of all people, hate children and you don't want them to eat well, have a good time at school, and so that they can learn and become productive members of society? You complain about all these lazy bums in society. Okay, well, maybe it's not that they're inherently lazy bums. Maybe it's that we made them that way.
Also, the irony of someone like, I can say this because I do podcasts. This isn't a real job. Like there is there is elements, and you can take it far. The way that they do this shit is not like they're just sitting down and spewing ideas. They don't plan things. There's no concept behind it. They don't, and they're calling other people lazy. Like you sit behind a microphone all day.
Right, and cry me a river about censorship with you and your 20 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
So I mean, these guys are the biggest. If they want to talk about victim mentality, you're looking right at them. Every accusation is a confession, whether it's this or with the Epstein files. Let's talk about how they were going to do it. Now they're not going to do it.
Well, what Epstein files?
Oh yeah, what?
What are you talking about?
I mean, I think they all thought the Epstein list was going to be some
New
giant
York financier, Jeffrey Epstein. Have you seen this clip? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Jeffrey Epstein, the plastic surgeon? I don't know who you're talking about. But I think they all thought it was going to be some own the libs moment where everyone on it is going to be some Democrat.
Yeah.
No, it's all Republicans.
Yeah.
It's all, minus, a couple of people here and there, Kevin Spacey, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it's all Republicans. Yeah. So, I mean, biggest hypocrites in the world, and this goes back to, again, like how we're selling ourselves. We don't fight back on it. We don't push back on it, and we're not proactive. Why aren't we branding them, right? Yeah. I mean, they generally are the worst people. Like, why aren't we pointing that out? Why aren't we making the case for it? And, even with the gerrymandering thing, Texas is doing gerrymandering, and I see a lot of people like, oh, well, it's against the rules. We can't gerrymander too because what? So you're going to let them fuck us over just because your little rule book that they made the rules, by the way, says that you can't do it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it reminds me of a conversation I was having the other day. I won't name drop because God bless his soul, but but I was, asking about what are the president's actions, and I was like, hey, do you think that the president will be able to do this? And he looks at me, swear to God, dead ass, and he says, that's illegal. And I'm like, I make that face where it's like, you think that stopped him before? We tie this notion of like, again, I respect the institutions, but slavery was legal at one point. That doesn't, not everything that's legal is good and not everything that is illegal is bad. We have to question systems. And I think that that's particularly something that Democrats have not been as good at, is questioning systems or allowing the questions to be had. I don't think that it's just Democrats. I think that, conservatives have done it as well historically, but I think more so they've been more receptive to the conspiracy theories and to the
right. And I don't think we should welcome conspiracy theories.
I don't think we should welcome them, but I think we should be willing to
ask valid questions.
Well, I don't even know about that. I think if someone comes and asks you, going back to what you were saying earlier, if someone comes and tells you, I don't know, silly conspiracy theory about X, Y, and Z, and you immediately tell them, you're an idiot. You're stupid. Why would you ever believe that? And then they go and they turn on their, Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes is telling them, you're not actually stupid. You're a free thinker, and you're the most creative person on earth. And so now we've pushed away these people because we do the moral grandstanding thing.
I think there's a way to do it without moral grandstanding, although I will preface by saying that thinking that Hillary Clinton is a lizard-eating, child-molesting pedophile who runs out of a pizza shop, I think that's a little bit out there.
Yeah, 100%. But my point is that it doesn't start there. No one wakes up one morning and they're like,
well, no, you'd be surprised.
Well, yeah, maybe if you play professional football for 15 years, you get hit in the head a little bit too hard. That's how you end up like Antonio Brown believing this bullshit. But I don't think most people start there. Most people start with, hey, you know what? There's this problem that I have in society, and this group is to blame for that problem.
Yeah.
And then it goes from, this group isn't just to blame for that problem. This group is to blame for this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. And whenever they go and try to talk to someone about it, they're instantly shut down.
No, I agree with that. And I think this is just a case of history repeating again, because in Nazi Germany, right, same kind of general kind of parameters there. People are having a tough time. Institutions are not responding. People are like, oh, let's defend the institutions against the Nazis, which is good. I mean, Nazis are bad. But institutions were
first.
Nazis are bad. Patent that.
Yeah, right.
On that note, it is
Perfect.
Okay. Well, we can wrap up in a
Yeah.
little bit. But I think, oh shit, what was I saying?
Nazis are bad. We were getting there because you were talking about the conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah. So I think, when we isolate people and we're not responsive and we don't hear them out, and there's no problem in hearing them out, but the important differentiation is not ostracizing them, but the instead better way to do it is point them in the right direction. Why so many men are part of these militias or these militant groups is that, like you said, it all starts out with a problem they're having, some issue that they're personally going through inside, or maybe they notice people are not responsive, they get ostracized, their people abandon them and cancel them or whatever.
Yes.
Right, and then they fall down this hole of being red-pilled, and all of these people telling them, actually, you're this super warrior, and you're this amazing, whatever, and everyone else is evil, and that's why you should go shoot up whatever.
Yes.
And so I think Nick Offerman has a movie coming out about this, talking about exactly that, but I think that is exactly what is wrong with it. And so I think you're right. Being more receptive and being more willing to listen, but the differentiation is that no matter how bad the idea is, not ostracizing people, giving room for them to understand and come to the right side or left side and see the light, and not trying to isolate them or cancel them from the get-go. I think that's the approach.
Yeah. Well, with that approach, I think that the Democratic Party has, a hopeful future, and I think that they're going to start to pick up and incorporate some of the things that I think our generation is seeing as the problem and then as the solution. So, with that being said, I mean, great conversation. I appreciate you joining the show. We'll have to have you back on because I think there's so much more that we could discuss.
Appreciate it. And Mark Cuban or George Soros or any good billionaire that's listening, dreamfroramerica.org/donate. Feel free to donate. I will be your greatest ally in a good way, not in a you own me way. But
yeah, on that case, if you want a podcast, go ahead.
Yeah, and these guys too.
Yeah, I won't do a shameless plug. It's okay. You can just click the link in the description, though.
Thanks again.
Absolutely, man.